Yeah, just, football games like that, regardless of, how important they are as far as where you're going, I think we see the players play at that level and the complementary football and the fight that they had and stepping up to make plays on both sides of the football when you have to. That's the dream. That's team football, man. And, it wasn't pretty for sure. Played a really good defense, but made the plays when we had to. There's definitely some we left out there, but I got in the locker room, I just told the guys, that's the guys I know. That's the fight that I saw all the way back in August and in spring, and just seeing it come to life today. And, last thing I told them was job not done. We're still rolling.
Thanks, Coach. Go to Coach Wommack.
Yeah, great fight by our football team. When you're down 17-0, the way that you have to protect your sideline, the energy to go on a 34-7 run after being down 17-0, that's what we're trying to build this team on. You think back on where we have gone, and you think about a year ago not being able to answer the bell and not punch back, and now I think all our kids do is they fight, they punch, and they just keep punching, and that's the only way you come back from a 17-0 game like that. You play great team football, you play complementary football, love the energy and juice. Our sideline is a living, breathing organism, and our guys are doing a great job of putting themselves in position. Great football teams get better, and this is the time, right? You just continue to work and strive. But that was a good team win that we just had right there.
Thank you, coaches. If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll try to get it to you. We got two questions right in the front. Let's start with Charlie and then Chase.
Just for Coach Wommack, what kind of momentum shift is that pick six from Xavier before the end of the half?
About like all momentum shifts from a pick six come. I mean, when you can not only flip the field but then score in that situation, really awesome. And I mean, I thought our offense was ready to answer the bell. They answered the bell in just critical times. I mean, when you're down like that, to get something going, the pressure that you think about what they were bringing, and they credit them. They had a really good plan early on coming into this game. They changed tendency at pretty much every first, second, third down, and our players did a really good job of just adjusting. We saw something that we thought that we could get them and bait them into it. We had showed a little bit of zero pressure, and then all of a sudden we baited to a drop 8 cover 2, and Zabian made a hell of a play.
Chase, go ahead.
For Coach Grubb, I understand you were back in the booth after a couple of games on the sideline. Can you just speak to that change back?
Yeah, Coach Shepard is obviously at Oregon State now, and so Tyler Hughes, one of our senior analysts, is coaching the receivers. That's a big job on the sideline, getting the right guys in the game. So with his eyes not up in the box for me, and Coach Dolan wasn't here. He's been at Oregon State, so haven't had him all week. So I just felt like just to be accurate and make sure I got the things I needed from the sky. And, normally I have a couple guys up there giving me information. I feel really good about that, but didn't have that exact scenario. So just felt like it was the prudent thing to do, be up there and make sure I got good pictures.
Let's go to the far left side of the room to Katie.
For Coach Grubb, just what did you see from Latsier tonight stepping up? Just really the whole game as a freshman, but especially that first third down conversion of the game that was y'all's first down, just kind of how he stepped up tonight.
Well, not to TMI here, but I saw Herb Street in the bathroom at halftime, and he was like, "Man, you were right. Brooks is the guy." And I just had a feeling. I had said before the game that I felt like Latsier was in a position in this game plan to step up. And we see it every week from 17, just on the practice field. We got a really talented room with him and Ryan and Isaiah and Jerm, but just those are the plays we needed to have from all those guys. And I don't think there's anybody on that sideline that was surprised a bit that 17 made those plays. He's a stud.
Okay, we got 3 questions from the right side. Let's start with Nick first.
That question for Kane. Obviously, that was an offense you guys limited somewhat in the first game, and then they kind of storm out to a fast start. What is the message on the sideline to those guys to make sure they don't get freaked out by that?
Well, I think, we talked about it before the game. There was going to be wrinkles. There were going to be things that they did. And I thought they had a great plan early on. I thought the quarterback played out of his mind in the first half. He was dialed in, did a really good job. We didn't affect him early enough from a pass rush standpoint, and then we started affecting him, and it drastically changed the outcome of the game. And so, just finding ways to just settle in, Let's see what their pictures are. Let's see what their game plan is, what they're going to do, and then being ready to adjust whichever way we needed to. You know, we haven't played a lot of man coverage this year, but that was what we needed to do to win the game, and our DBs were begging for it. I mean, by the time we got to the second half, I mean, they wanted it, and that's what you want, right? You want kids that are fighters, that want the ball in their court. They want to be challenged. They want to go challenge people, and our players won this game. They won the game with sheer will.
Let's go to Colin next on the right side.
Hey, Ryan, what did you see from Jam, whether it was as a runner or maybe even in pass pro as well?
Jim did a good job. You know, we tried to keep his reps down a little bit. Him and Daniel obviously shared the load back there tonight, and I thought he did a good job when he was in. You know, he's still, you know, nursing back to health a little bit, but he's a soldier, man. He was out there battling. I thought he did a good job.
Going to Matt now.
Ryan, was it something that you changed there toward the end of the first half that let things maybe get more of a foothold, or was it just the execution got better?
I mean, I think there's the ebb and flow of every game, and certainly there were some looks that we had gotten to that I knew we had to be able to come back to in a different way, and made sure they were in the same coverage structure to be able to go after it, and the guys did a good job executing that. So I think there's you know, obviously Coach Venables does a great job of presenting a lot of different pictures, and so I think getting the guys in a position where they could formationally feel familiar with what was going on out there gave Ty a little bit of freedom. And then I thought, you know, they do as good a job as anybody at putting pressure on your quarterback, and I thought it wasn't perfect. I know we gave up sacks, but there were some critical moments that we had some really big pickups.
Let's go to Alex on the front left.
Coach Grubb, just can you tell me what you've seen from Josh these last few weeks fighting to get back, and then what he gave you tonight?
Unreal. Awesome. Josh Cuevas is he's one of the toughest kids I've ever seen play football. Mentally, physically, to be able to do what he did tonight is absolutely unbelievable. You know, I mean, people that are a little bit older remember Terrell Owens coming back and playing in a Super Bowl with a broken foot. I think he had a spiral fracture. And you think about those kind of stories with a guy like Josh, and just we didn't think there was any way he was going to play, and he just kept saying he was going to find a way. And the doctors, you know, and Jeff do an incredible job, and they got him back out on the field. And he's just, his mindset and his perseverance is special. It's really rare.
Go to Joe, second row on the right.
Question for both coaches. Over here, Ryan.
Right here, second row on the right.
Here you are.
Why is playoff football so different than regular season?
Well, I think there's obviously a finality to it. You know, certainly you're back against the wall mentality. I think everything feels a little bit more on edge. You know, so I think there's, as much as you'd love the week 2 game to be just as important or as much intensity, I think sometimes when you have that mentality, it's win or go home. I think that certainly that puts some different value on the game, I guess.
I mean, I think we have been playing like a winner go home mentality all season long. It's a mentality thing as much as anything. You know, you think about where we were coming out of the Florida State game. These players have had a supreme urgency to get themselves better every single week. And that's great teams just get better. They just take little steps to go out on a Tuesday practice and go out and prepare. I thought our guys, they prepared with the same level of dedication that they've been preparing for all season long, and it put us in a position to go fight and win the game. But, you know, the cool thing about the playoffs, I mean, we didn't come here to win the first round of the playoffs. We're going to enjoy the hell out of this. We're going to celebrate it with our players. We're going to talk to them and praise the things that they did well. But we got to correct the things that we didn't do well enough as well as we move into the second round. So great job by our guys, but this is not the end for us.
Got 2 more questions, starting with the back right room.
For both of you, I mean, down 17-0, no one outside of the building thinks you guys have a chance. Why was this team able to pull that off today?
You know, I would credit, unfortunately, a little bit of the SEC championship. You know, there was an address made, you know, just with the guys, the mentality that you have to have in a football game, that games aren't over when it's 14-0, especially when you're getting the ball in the second half. And I didn't feel the same resolve in Atlanta that I felt here tonight. You know, I didn't feel like the guys were, even when it was 17-0, you know, talking to Ty on the headset, getting with some of the coaches, I felt like there was a belief that, you know, the defense was going to make a play, we were going to make a play, and nobody was giving up. And, you know, ultimately something happens and springs it loose, and you know, that's what it really takes, is to keep that momentum and that mindset. Somebody has to make a play eventually, and when you do and you have a big play, it brings it all to life.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't win those games without great culture. You have a great team culture. You got a bunch of fighters, a bunch of punchers. That wasn't who we were a year ago. We learned how to do that. We fought to do that. We prepared in the offseason. Dave Ballou and our fourth quarter program, and Jeff Allen getting players back. Our players, our leaders stepping up in those moments. We've learned how to fight, and so now we have a culture of fighters, and that starts with our head coach, who's a puncher, and it just rubs off on the rest of our coaching staff and our players, and that's how you win games like that.
We'll finish up with Joe, right front and middle.
Coach Grubb, can you talk about the utilization of different offensive linemen tonight, whether it was seeing Jaden Roberts for the first time in quite some time, and you saw, obviously, you've been mixing in Gino Vandermark, just the mixing of the offensive line still, and to be able to have a performance like this?
Well, really, the starting lineup's the starting lineup with Michael at right tackle and Wilkin at right guard, and really was more of just keeping guys healthy and keeping them fresh. So just giving the guys a blow there for a series, got J-Rob in there. And then Dew and Gino have been rotating a little bit for quite a while. And a little bit of that's, Dewberry's foot, just trying to make sure he's okay. And Gino's banged up as well. So those two older guys is like 0.5 and 0.5, and they make one guy. But they did a good job.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Thanks, guys. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.